Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Alex Urbina, who is a life coach. And before the break, the word content came up, or contentment. What is your definition of content?
Versus contempt.
Contentment to me is just becoming okay with what is. Deciding that what is enough and I don't need more. And there's two sides to that for me. There's a side when you get content with something, there's a certain level of peace. Like I'm at peace because I'm not always trying to figure out that there's got to be something better or more. So I'm just relaxed and I'm okay where I'm at.
In the moment.
In the moment.
And that's contentment.
That's contentment, is you're just kind of okay with what is. However, if you stick in and hang around in contentment for too long, what can happen is the world evolves around you at a faster pace, such that because the world is a constant growing. So here's an example. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna kind of throw my mother-in-law under the bus a little bit.
Yikes!
Here. Yeah.
Oh, Alex.
But in a loving, in a loving way, because
we're moving away from content.
In a loving way.
Okay, good.
So she now is, I want to say she's in her late 80s, and she's really confused about what's going on in our home because she can't follow our conversations. She says we speak really fast, and she gets confused and she's lost. And I ask her, because we have deep heart-to-heart conversations, because that's how I want to interact with her. And I ask her a lot of the times, what's the life lesson that you've learned, and what are some of your regrets? And she says to me, my regret is that I didn't continue to educate myself or learn or evolve or grow. I became content. Mm-hmm. Now, 30, 40 years later, when she's sitting at the dinner table with her daughter and her son-in-law and her grandkids, she says some of the words are too big, or I don't understand what you're saying. The conversation is just at a higher level, and she feels lost. So it's a great example of just because you're content doesn't mean that the rest of the world's going to slow down and be content with you. It's going to keep evolving. Mm-hmm. So you got to decide, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to stay content? And if you do, for how long? It's like if you start up on a journey to the top of a certain mountain, right? And it's a 4-hour hike. When you get to a certain point, you get tired, you take a little break, right? Mm-hmm. Take a little break. How long do you take the break? Do you take the break to where your muscles stiffen up and you can't go anymore?
That's right.
Or do you take it long enough to just catch enough of your breath and then, all right, let's go
move
again.
On.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the question is it's okay to be content, but for how long? To the point where you now content is your comfort zone where you resided at, mm-hmm. or is it content long enough to catch my breath, make sense of things, and then now I'm ready for what's next? Let's keep this truck moving. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of double-edged sword of being content. Is it helps you kind of relax and gain some clarity and get some peace and be okay with not being so stressed out. Mm-hmm. However, it can also be a part where you can stay there too long, where the rest of the world outgrows you and evolves to a certain level where you now are behind the pack.
Yeah, but I think when you reach that level and you stay there, I think that most people would think, wait a minute, there's a little bit more out there, mm-hmm. and let's explore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the longer you stay in contentment, the more comfortable, the more warm and fuzzier it feels, the more safe it feels. It's our comfort zone.
It is healthy
contentment
to a high degree, but then could it lead to stagnation?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's okay to take a break and be content at certain pivotal moments in your life. However, the longer you stay in there, inside of that comfort zone and that box called contentment, mm-hmm. it feels safer. It feels warm and fuzzy. It feels mm-hmm. you feel secure. You feel everything that's inside that box is designed to keep you in the box.
Yeah.
You have to decide, no, that we've hung out here a little bit too long. Now it's time to get back on a new commitment. This is now time to challenge myself again to find out what my next level is, or my next growth. Or you got to keep it moving, is what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, the world outgrows you, and you get to a point where you're lost, confused, and things don't make sense to you anymore.
You can be in that have that sense of contentment, but you can also be doing things that is still reaching out. Like you can be reading, you can be conversing with people, you can be debating, or sometimes even arguing, forming your own opinions, using the computer, getting out to church once in a while, and yet come back into your zone of contentment. By reaching out and doing all these things, it allows that stimulus to keep going, and you meeting and seeking new challenges.
But that's the theory, that I'm going to hang out in my contentment box, but every once in a while I'm going to get out and challenge myself and get out. Now what happens is, every time you get out, and then when you come back to the box actually grows a little bigger.
Absolutely.
So it is expanding. So what you're doing is you're stretching your comfort zone, or you're stretching and expanding your contentment box. That's called growth. When you don't come out and you stay in it, and you just say, no, I like it in here. There's no risk of rejection. There's no risk of getting hurt. I can't fail inside of here. And you stay stuck in there. Then that's where you stop growing, you stop evolving. And then that's where I said the world doesn't play that game. The world is a constant moving machine of evolving to the next level. That's how you can all of a sudden, wake up one day and go, where did all this technology come from? That's why a lot of elderly people are like, it's grown so fast. Well, it didn't grow so fast. What happened was, when computers first started coming out and technology started hitting in the late 70s, early 80s, most of you were in resistance to it, didn't want to accept it, or you resisted it for so long that buffer zone got so far from you that now there's so much for you to catch up. You were just like, what's the point? And you just stopped.
And you think, though, that it's that far ahead, but honestly, seniors who are listening now, I want you to know, yes, there's a wave of technology out there, especially in computers, but you're really not that far behind.
It's never too late.
It's so easy to
never too late.
Get on the bandwagon and start moving forward with it and using it.
That's right.
Because I see it at the senior center. Last Christmas, we had a Christmas party, and there was a big difference between the Christmas party last year versus the one the year before. Last year, I noticed that, when people were singing and doing things, everybody had their cell phone. This time they were taking pictures, and
awesome.
They had their movies, and they just readapted.
I love that.
So don't be afraid that you're too far behind. Realize that you could be some of us could be at a top of a wave right now, but it's not that hard to get up there with others and catch that wave in.
Yeah, think of it like a hula hoop. Some of us have been hula hooping for 20 years, and we're really good at it. Some of us think that because everyone is good at hula hooping, that it's like, well, I'm never going to be as good as they are.
Yeah.
No one cares about whether you're going to be good enough like they are. Just put the hula hoop around you and just start somewhere. Just start swinging your hips, and you're at your own pace. No one's judging you. No one's trying to make you get at their pace. Just jump in. Just jump in and have some fun. One of the most inspiring things for me was watching my dad, before he passed away, reach out to me and ask me for the very first time. He comes in, he goes, "Hey, son, can you teach me how to email?" And I said, absolutely. And the look, I don't know, maybe in my late 20s, and this huge smile came over my face, and I was so inspired by him. I taught him how to email. So instead of writing letters, now he's emailing to his sisters back in Arizona, and now he's emailing me, and it just lit up my face to see him courageously challenge himself to take on technology. And then that evolved to, hey, can you show me the internet? And so I showed him the internet, and he was able to get on the website of his little hometown called Bisbee, Arizona, where he gets to go and look at their newspapers and read all the articles from his hometown. And what a joy it put on his face. And to see him take the courage to be willing to ask for help, right? One, to ask his son for help, to teach him, and then to learn that. It puts a smile on my face right now to think of what a courageous man he was, and that he continued to challenge himself to evolve and to continue to grow.
And the other day I had a patient that, has relied on her granddaughter to help her out on the computer, and she's gotten really good. And then, one day she told me her granddaughter came over to pick her up to take her somewhere, and she said, "Oh, I just got back from the senior center." And she said, "Well, how'd you get there?" She says, "Oh, I downloaded the app for Lyft, and I was able to arrange for my ride over
That's
there."
awesome.
And it was like the granddaughter said, "You did that, Grandma?" So no, it's not. It is just.
It's inspiring to see people think they're out of their element and then challenge themselves. And then one of my aunts, my dad's sister in Arizona, texts me for the first time. This literally happened maybe 3 weeks ago. She sends me a text of her new phone. She upgraded from the old grandma phone, the flip phones that you guys love, to a smartphone. And she was so excited for herself. And she was like, "Hey, look what I got." And I was so excited for her. I'm so proud of you. And I just responded with a lot of glory and acknowledgement for her, challenging herself to get with the times and to really kind of include herself into that kind of growth with the rest of the world.
I was really resistant to texting because I felt my thumbs were too big and I couldn't get my fingers on there. And I thought, this is taking too long. I hated it. And then I saw the little microphone on the screen and I said, what the heck is this? Learned how to use that. And then my daughter, who was out of state at the time, I told her that, I said, "Hey, I'm texting via the microphone. I'm dictating everything." She said, "Oh, that's good, Dad. I'm glad you're doing that, but I'd rather do it the way you just type it out." And so she asked me a simple question, that took 10 seconds to read, and I dictated an answer that took about 5 minutes to dictate. Looked at it again, recorrected everything, and then sent it back to her. And she said, "Oh, Dad, thanks. I appreciate the information and helping me out. And by the way, I'm going to be dictating my texts because it was so long, but she got everything in within 5 minutes. She was grateful for that, and now she's dictating her texts too."
That's awesome.
So it's this wave that is out there. Don't be afraid of that. Don't let it's a challenge, but actually, doesn't it for all of us turn out to be fun?
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
just to be there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had the same response from my daughter when I texted her, "Mom, you finally learned how to text." I'm thinking, wow. But it's interesting. I have to do it with one finger. I can't do it with both thumbs. My thumbs won't work. I have to do it with one finger.
The point is that you're doing it. You jumped in there. You took on the challenge, and that's what I'm hoping that today the message gets landed, that you're never too old to continue to challenge yourself. Life is about challenge. It's about deciding that I'm going to take on 2 or 3 new challenges this week. I wish that I could help coach an organization to help seniors, and I just came up with a bunch of different challenges. Week 1, we're going to take on these 2 challenges. Week 2, we're going to take on, so that at the end of the year, you're not the same person that you were a year ago.
That's right.
That you've now are so now your life has purpose. It has meaning because you're growing and you're taking on these challenges that give your life a purpose. And rather than sitting in your home watching the same reruns and you're just staring at the same walls, and you're just kind of in your box of contentment, which now becomes depressing. Life is so much bigger than you just putting yourself and resigning in a box that you're too old, right? What are the stigmas that seniors make? Like my mom does some of them. She'll say, "You can't teach old dog new tricks."
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
we hide behind these axioms that aren't serving us. They don't support us by deciding that we're too old to learn stuff. And all you're doing is really just creating excuses not to have the courage to take on at least a small challenge. And I'm not asking you to, go skydiving, overnight. I'm just asking you to, get out of your comfort zone and maybe it's, go out and meet your neighbors, or maybe it's go to the local, grocery store and help somebody with their groceries, or it's just get out of your comfort zone a little bit at a time until you stretch it to the point that you're unrecognizable. You're a new human being.
But what's very interesting, when I went parasailing for the first time.
Wow. Good
And
for you.
You talk about an experience. It was something I have never had before. And it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I think there's a movie called The Bucket List.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
two older guys, right? They're at the hospital, and they're like, they decide that they're at the end of their life, or maybe they're even told that, and they just decide, you know what, let's go take on our bucket list. And one guy has enough money to fund the whole adventure. And if you watch the movie, you watch two human beings come alive.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden the last 30 days or year or whatever, there's so much growth that happens and so much challenge that they overcome in that 30 days or 90 days or however many days it is, that supersedes their whole 60 years or 70 years of living.
Yep.
1 year, if you challenge yourself, or one great year of growth can supersede 60 years of contentment. You can really come alive whenever you decide that you're going to create a new relationship around the word challenge.
Well, it's interesting that year that I did that parasailing, every time I thought about it, I thought, look what you did.
Nice.
At your age.
That's right.
Look what you did. If I can do that, anybody can do that.
That's a great
You
statement,
know?
but not only that, but you can also say, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what I've told myself. I did that. And I can do anything.
I hope you took a picture of yourself
Oh
too.
yes, yes.
When I did skydiving for the first time at age 30, when they asked me at the counter, "Do you want to videotape it?" I said, "Absolutely, I want to videotape it. How much is it?" And I paid for the videotape because I knew one day, when I'm when I'm old and sitting on my rocking chair, I'm going to pull all my grandkids together and go, come over here. Let me show you what Grandpa did in his 30s. I'm going to replay that old VHS tape of me skydiving in my 30s.
Maybe you should make it an annual thing here, or like every decade.
That's right.
So make it, turn 50, turn 60, turn 70.
That's right.
You can have a whole display of it.
Yeah, that's a new
Well,
one.
it was interesting. When I was 75, on my 75th birthday, I climbed the Eiffel Tower. One step at a time.
I love that.
There are over 400
Step
steps.
at a time.
And of course, you had to pay to get into it. And Russ said, "You're going to pay to walk?" And I said, "Absolutely, I am." And it was an incredible experience.
That's amazing. So when people look at me and go, "Alex, how do I do this?" When they're looking at this huge challenge and they go, "How do I do this?" My common response is, "How do you eat a whole elephant?" One bite at a time.
That's right.
Now it's going to be, how do you climb the Eiffel Tower?
One step at a time.
And people don't realize it. It just takes one little step, one tiny, jump, one tiny leap. Do it in little increments. People get overwhelmed by the huge amount of stress that they're looking at or they're facing by taking on these big tasks. And all you got to do is just go one step at a time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you're standing on the ground and you're looking up, you can barely see the top
That's right.
of the Eiffel
That's
Tower.
right.
And
But
then
one step at a time, before you realize it, you're there.
you're there. And that's was. My husband came up in the elevator and met me there.
Russ.
But I think it's time now to take a break. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Alex Urbina, who is a life coach. And one of the things that I look forward to every morning is getting out of bed.
Isn't that great?
I really do. And I have a kitty cat who will help me get out. She pushes me out. Come on, I'm hungry. And she'll come up and paw my face and meow at me. And what a great feeling to wake up to that.
And I grew up, with parents that were always adventurous. They were always out there doing things. And, I think I've told this story before about when my mom was in her 80s. We were driving up to see my daughter up in San Luis Obispo, and my car broke down about midway through. And, I was able to fix it, but I didn't know if it would work. So I got back in the car and started driving south again to see whether, putting this car back together, with tape and duct tape and stuff like that. And boom, it worked. And I looked at my mom, and she's with me, and, we're going up to visit. And I said, what do you want to go home or do you want to take a chance and keep driving? And she looks at me and she says, let's go on an adventure.
Nice.
And that's what I've heard all my life.
Love that.
Let's go on an adventure. Let's move forward. Let's, adapt to the situation and, make sure that, what we want, if something happens, it happens. But, if we can achieve what we are going to achieve, let's keep moving forward.
And I think it's just a mindset because,
It's a mindset.
Mom has to look and go, would I rather go home and stare at my four walls for the next 4 days, or would I rather be broken down 20 times hanging out with you, trying to figure out on the side of the road, trying to figure out how to, get us
That's
to our
right.
destination? What a
right.
great adventure,
A challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge.
And
yeah.
everyone
And that's why
needs
my
a
mom lives, and
challenge.
she's in her 90s, living at home still by herself. Because she's still trying to meet that challenge.
Good
right?
for her.
So
Good for her.
This is the way you sometimes meet that challenge and literally win in life. I just don't see people failing at it when they, adapt and, reorganize their life and put themselves in a direction. But I think it's harder for our seniors, and to have a life coach like you, Alex, I think is critical and important.
Yeah, I think that the senior community can really use some senior coaches too.
Absolutely.
There needs to be more senior coaches to step up and say, this is a population of people that really need help, and they need help realizing that they need help, which is it's a whole nother game.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a real challenge.
That's a real
and so
challenge.
if you are good at taking on challenges, that's one to really tackle, is helping people that don't realize they need help or they're challenged in asking for help.
I may have asked you before, but what made you decide to be a life coach?
I didn't decide it just from a place of standing outside of personal growth. I decided it once I was in there. And the way that I got invited to personal growth was a cousin of mine. He wanted to be like his mentor, and his mentor told him, you got to go do some personal growth. You got to go do some leadership development. And so my cousin went to this seminar, this training company, and started embarking down a journey of leadership development, and had an epiphany, and came to my house one day and said, I love you so much, I want to give you this gift. And he invited me to a transformational training center. And I remember
That is cool.
I remember telling him that I didn't think that was for me. And isn't that what all of us think? They look at their own life and they go, no, I'm pretty good. I got, at the time I was 23, had my first home, great job, was married. So compared to all my other friends, I saw them as losers. I'm like, come on, look where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And what he said to me was, this type of work isn't for people that are lost and broken. Personal growth is for people that decide that there's something inside of them that they want to make a bigger contribution. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of resided with me. And I just thought, maybe there is something that I don't know about myself that can head me down a path where I'm living an extraordinary life. And so that's what got me to go take that journey on.
How interesting.
And then upon having my own awakening of my own personal growth, you just get, when you have that breakthrough, you realize, I want to now give this gift to other people. And so then I embarked on the journey of helping others.
Mm-hmm. And you found your zone of contentment.
No, I don't like staying in my zone of contentment.
Yeah.
I've trained myself to force myself out of my box, and I challenge myself to live outside of my comfort zone daily.
Cool.
To the point where now it just feels like it's just the way that I live now.
I think we need a senior coach like you out there.
Well, or I can
senior
coach
coach.
others to be coaches, but yeah, I think that there's a need for it.
There is definitely a need for it. We just have to find that place and start making up the model so we can do this.
That's right.
Because if we can take the seniors here in Santa Clarita and change their mindset, push them forward.
Well, you guys are doing that with this show, and I know a lot of times, as keepers of the light, which I see you guys for the seniors in your community and the world, you give yourself permission. You have a big dedication to this show, and a lot of times, we think like, how do I make a bigger difference with more people? You're doing that with the show. I know a lot of times it's hard to find the validation that what you're doing is working, and I want to be the first person to tell you, that we need more people like you, and this show is important. So keep having topics like this. Keep bringing people in to talk about their craft and how to make a difference, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Alex Urbina, thanks so much. You're going to be our big-time senior coach here in Santa Clarita.
Sounds good.
We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in-Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.
You're constantly on the go. Why not be on the go in the comfort, style, and safety of a new Nissan from Valencia Nissan?
Bob Bailey, Executive Manager at Valencia Nissan, where Bob or any of his helpful, friendly staff can assist you with incredible savings on summer specials on the 20